First, I'd like to thank you five in particular for the amount of time that you've spent on all kinds of issues this year and the past years. I've heard that it takes a lot of time when you work on the UHPA board. That's what I've heard. And I would concur that, let's see, I've been here 24 years, and I did not have a clue whatsoever of what the system and community colleges and Maui College, previously known as Maui Community College, were until May of 2004 when I started spending a lot of Saturdays in this building and other building as a member of the board. I'm going to answer the last question because I almost reviewed the math department here at the university before the acting vice chancellor for academics kicked me out of that, and I chaired a different committee. And what we learned before I got kicked off was, and this comes from lots of comments or lots of discussion with the math faculty. I'm close to several of those. The answer for the math faculty at University of Manoa is that if you take Math 241 here, and if you take Math 241 at KCC or other community colleges, the answer I was given by several of the faculty, and I think even the current department chair, was that the KCC version of Calc 1 and Calc 2 gets through about 2/3 of the material that the Manoa Calc 1 does, so that the students, it's not well articulated is the answer, and they don't get as much, and so they're ill prepared when they get here and have to take Physics 172 with their Calc 1 and Calc 2 response. My question is really regarding the replacements of 2 CEOs that are coming up. It looks like the replacement of the UHPA CEO, or Executive Director, Dr. Musto, probably will happen a lot better and a lot sooner, simply because our board in UHPA is about 2 orders of magnitude better than the board of UH, the Board of Regents. We've seen that recently. It's been all over the newspaper with the Cancer Center. Okay, so we've seen that. We heard Tom Apple recently at the Faculty Senate discuss that. I think for the faculty, for the students, for the next 50 years of this university, those 2 searches and appointments are going to be the most crucial. I have much more confidence in you all. I have full confidence in you all and the directors of doing that search in a rational way. You spent a whole Saturday recently going over issues. That's all I've heard, even though there's a director in my department. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to know anymore. I know you guys are handling it.
Thank you.
For the presidential search of UH, wow. What we've read in the newspaper is that they've had town hall meetings. We hear that they basically don't want to look outside the borders of Hawaii, is what I read in the newspaper. They want local candidates, and et cetera, et cetera. I figure that we'll have another disaster. We've had a series of disasters. I only came in '89, so we had a disaster called Mortimer. We had a disaster called Dobell. We had a good one, a really good one, the next one, when it came from the faculty. Oh, gee whiz. Then, and then we have the most recently resigned one who, none of you, but I spent a couple of meetings along with the executive committee with her when she was a candidate, and then with her in December of 2009, which some of you will remember, we spent about 2 hours with her. That was 1 month before the famous December 28th, 2009, when we all got the Christmas present. I still have the email saying, I'm going to break the law, I'm going to break the contract, and you are not going to get paid starting January 1st, what my contract that previous people said. We won that, and even better, the university administration doesn't know that we won. Still, they don't know that we won.
We won that with the strength and support of the faculty. And that's the only reason that we won. It's because you guys
That's right.
stepped up. You know,
And
we stepped up, we came
That's right.
together, and we focused.
What happened there is that in September, I think most of us were here then, in September, they asked the board that you represent to present their last offer to the faculty, and I know that Linda Johnsrud and other good administrators felt that they were going to win, and they came out with a vote of 17% versus what the UPA board hoped to do, and the UPA position was 83% of that. 4 months later, again, little history, we got basically what we wanted, more than we asked for earlier on, because two of us spent our Labor Day weekend crafting a proposal that they wouldn't look at, and what we got in January of 2010 was better than what we crafted. So lots of advantage there. What I'm going to ask you is, are you guys and gals able to have any kind of positive input into the UH presidential search, or are you viewed as the enemy? Just as UH faculty are often viewed from downtown, and downtown is the group who runs the Board of Regents.
We spent some quality time grilling one of the regents, the head of the regents. We were not invited to be on the committee, and standard practice across universities is usually to have more than one faculty member. And we have, though, been a sort of the still small voice, I'd like to think, that they've been at it 7 months. And I really appreciated Jan last Friday sort of read them, gently steered them, I think, in a direction, and at that point things focused more. But we're not an inside player on this. We do have a point of view. We've got, when we sat with the regent, we sat down and said, these are some of the questions and their expectations behind the questions. And so we don't know. This last one, this last meeting, there may have been some movement to do something to shorten the search. And we suggested quite strongly that even if you have someone great, you need to go through the process. And while we might appreciate the person, if they do that, they would be getting someone who would have no constituency. So they voted to go ahead and keep going with a process and with a timeline. And so I think we are shaping things, but it's an interesting committee, and we'll see. The only way we'll know is when we see what we get at the other end.
Based on just on the newspaper articles,
Yeah.
and I haven't talked with you all since over 2.5 years. It looks like where they're headed, from me reading the newspaper, is that we're going to hire the analog of Hugh Yoshida. Hugh Yoshida was the director of the high school athletic association, and I think that if I got the name right, then became the athletic director and that was not.
I don't
did not
think,
go well.
we don't know. It may turn out, I mean, the Dobell search was sort of short-circuited, and I think the Mortimer one may have been too, although that goes back before my time. But the point is, that's when you get into trouble, when you short-circuit these things, and that's what we told the regents.
Great record with the cancer center.
Yeah, it's anytime you cut corners, you cut corners. We're hoping, all we can do is hope and nudge, and I don't think we're going to get a UHPA. I think there's sort of a unanimous consensus, well, that's not a unanimous, a consensus that we need someone who really understands how these islands work, not someone who just arrives and has to learn on the fly, because Apple arrived and had all of 24 hours for a honeymoon, and that's pretty standard. So I think we will see someone who has some familiarity. There's some inclination to hire a business person or someone like that. I think if they reflect on that, they may see otherwise, because the university is also a complex thing. And it's a tough job. And so we'll see. I think some of the regents are better than others, and some are incredibly bright and have a very good idea of where to go. That's it.
Well, one thing I wanted to add is when the search committee came to speak to the UPA board, they were just coming just like they were going to all the different neighborhood groups and things like that. They actually were on Maui the following week. And I found it quite interesting because when someone had asked them a question about the presidential search, then Regent Holzman started talking about how it really is a transition and how they need to think about where they want UH to be in 5 or 10 years. And I was sitting there smiling because that's exactly what JN had explained to them the week before about what we were doing with the board for the executive director search. So we did make an impact, whether it was they realized they were doing it or not. And I think that was a good change that they did there, because it is. You want to see where is UH going to be in 10 years and who can get us there. And I think that was a very good, I was very happy that they seemed to have adopted JN's perspective. I didn't point out to them that they had done that because I wanted them to be happy in what they were doing. So I just wanted to make sure that.
And just to add something to that, while I think, there are some positive signs in the Board of Regents taking control of their responsibilities in the wake of having not taken control of their responsibilities, I also am insulted that there's only one faculty on the search committee. I think that denigrates the faculty and the stake that we have in this decision. And I'm astounded that faculty count 1/10 of the, we just have a bigger stake in the system than that would merit. And I would like to see us speak out more, maybe through letters to the editor, of the kind of individual we think we need. We just need to be more vocal and stand up for the stake that I think we have.
I think too, you all really need to be frightened of what's coming down, and I don't mean to be melodramatic, but when you look at, and it was mentioned Mortimer, for example, and I had heard years ago that Mortimer was chosen by a committee headed by Gary Rodriguez, who was a corrupt union person from, I forget which union, UPW.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of something Jim Gaines told me a few years ago when we were fighting the appointment of Michele Carboni as Cancer Center Director. And he said to me, "Bob, you don't understand who runs this university." And I said, "Well, Jim, you're vice president for research. Don't you and the president run the university?" "No," he said, you don't understand. And I think it goes back to David Yount's book on who runs the university. And I think today we still don't know who runs this university. And that to me is the frightening thing in the selection process. And so when I hear about that they want to choose a businessman, I mean, the person I'm hearing is John Dean, who's on the Board of Regents. And I'm also hearing, other things that certain people that support him, it frightens me, because these are people that do not understand what a university is, do not understand academic freedom, do not understand what the students need, especially the undergraduate students in this university who have taken it in the shorts repeatedly ever since I've been here. And so if someone gets in there with that sort of business model, and in light of what happened to and who apparently can't even control his deans and directors, it's a frightening situation, because then the president has unlimited power, and the people that are pulling his strings have unlimited power and will further deteriorate the role of faculty in the governance of the university. So I think it's a very frightening time, and I think we need to stand up and demand openness and demand to find out just who is running this place.